morning. Welcome to Barcelona and welcome to Universitat Pompeu Fabra, UPF, streaming live from our campus of communication here in Poblenou. We have the privilege today of hosting a visit of very prominent Indian leaders from professional areas related to higher education or from top position of government in Indian universities. This is a very unique occasion. We have to thank the Foundation Council India Spain for inviting us to participate in this program in our quality of members of the Alliance for Universities, A4U, together with Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona, Universidad Carlos III, Universidad Autónoma de Madrid. The Alliance has, from its inception, placed great emphasis in the development of joint strategy of international outreach, taking advantage of our top position among Spanish universities in international rankings, our research vocation, and our increasing offer of bachelor and graduate programs taught in English. As an alliance, we started contacts with Indian institutions half a decade ago. Since then, we have had many talks with the Indian university community. We visited it, we received visits, we have signed agreements. We experienced the satisfaction of launching some mobility programs and some research programs, but we also experienced the difficulties of overcoming the distance, the language barriers, the cultural gaps, and we have a feeling that a lot of work remains to be done yet. And we have to do it quickly because the need for internationalization of Catalan and Spanish universities has become now very pressing. This is something which is in the mouth of everybody, and if we want to keep our high standards and our position among the best universities in Southern Europe and in the world, we have to do it quick. This is why we really hope that these very intense days in Madrid, in Valladolid, and now in Barcelona will be useful for getting to know each other better, raising awareness of new areas and fields of cooperation, and making plans to turn these opportunities into action. Before starting the roundtable, we will make a short presentation of the two Catalan universities of the Alliance present here in this program. And to this effect, it is my pleasure to introduce you, Mrs. Montserrat Alegre, Senior Officer for Institutional Relations at Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona, who will in turn introduce to you her university. So, Montse, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'm going to play a video in order to introduce my university, Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona, which is a young and dynamic university with a beautiful campus. So I hope you can enjoy it.
Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona is a campus measuring 263 hectares, one of its main assets. It is commitment to people, to special needs, commitment to equality between men and women. It works to guarantee universal campus accessibility Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona is committed to the environment. UAB is quality in teaching, quality in social sciences and the humanities, in science and technology, quality in health sciences. Immersed in the European convergence, UAB has taken on new objectives. More international academic programs, better teaching areas, more student mobility, and a strong boost in the attraction of talent. UAB is renowned research, with a nucleus comprised of 57 departments. Located in the vicinity are 28 centers and institutes, many of which were created in collaboration with large research institutions such as the Spanish National Research Council. A panorama which is completed with the research activities carried out by 5 large hospitals in the cities of Barcelona, Badalona and Sabadell, 2 of which are accredited as health research institutes. UAB is promotion of research in emerging areas, nanoscience, biotechnology, and biomedicine. This promotion is possible thanks to a strategic ally, the ALBA synchrotron. The UAB Research Park makes up this powerful research and innovation nucleus. A strategic alliance between the university, the Spanish National Research Council, and the Food and Agricultural Research and Technology Institute of the Catalan government. A knowledge transfer network and nexus for innovation activities and surrounding businesses. The Campus of International Excellence program will help to strengthen the integration of the park's centers and increase their interaction, which will favor the articulation of an area of excellence and leadership in Spain in research, development, and innovation. Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona has set a long-term goal of leading the integration of a series of R&D&I centers under the UAB CIE framework with the surrounding businesses, social, and cultural fabrics. This will create the UAB 30 Knowledge Cluster and consolidate it as the most important cluster of the Mediterranean. Our objective is set: to be one of the best universities in Europe. Promoting knowledge, encouraging innovation.
Well, after this visual presentation of Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona, it will be UPF's turn. We say in Spanish that an image is worth more than 1,000 words, so we will also introduce our university with a small clip. If it is prepared, we can go on.
Benvinguts a la Pompeu Fabra.
Benvinguts a la Pompeu Fabra.
Visiten a Pompeu Fabra.
Welcome to Pompeu Fabra.
Benvinguts a la Pompeu Fabra.
Bienvenidos a la Pompeu Fabra.
Benvenuto a la Pompeu Fabra.
Pompeu Fabra University is almost as old as its students. However, and despite its young age, it has quickly managed to position itself within the university system, and in recent years, it has begun to figure prominently in prestigious international rankings. Public, modern and urban, UPF lives at the rhythm of the city of Barcelona. More than 12,000 students move every day through the 3 university campuses located around the city. Ciutadella, the Social and Human Sciences campus. MOOC, the Health and Life Sciences campus. And Poblenou, the Communication and Information Technologies campus. In total, UPF offers around 20 undergraduate courses, close to 30 master's degrees and 9 PhD programs. This is complemented with a wide range of professional masters taught at different UPF centres, like the Continuing Education Institute, the IDEC, or the Barcelona School of Management. UPF follows its own university model in all study areas and is based on 3 main focus points: quality teaching, comprehensive education and student-centred learning, a clear commitment to research, international vocation. And the model works. In recent years, the university has also been awarded the International Excellence Campus label by the Spanish Ministry of Education, thus positioning itself in European research. UPF signs collaboration agreements with leading universities, welcomes many international masters and PhD students, and promotes incoming and outgoing student mobility. For these reasons, Pompeu Fabra is one of the most popular universities and is highly rated by its graduates. It is also a university with strong ties to its surroundings and with the city of Barcelona. It works with companies and institutions to return the investments society has made in the university through knowledge transfers, patents, and spin-offs that improve the lives of citizens. And also at an urban level. The construction of the university's main buildings and the restoration of ancient buildings have contributed to revitalize some neighborhoods and to create new areas of knowledge. At the Ciutadella campus, UPF hosts a selection of some of the best research centers and groups in social and human sciences, like the Barcelona Graduate School of Economics or the Research Center for International Economics. At the MOOC campus, research is developed through the Barcelona Biomedical Research Park, one of the largest biomedical research clusters in southern Europe. It is physically connected to the Hospital del Mar and is formed by several independent research centers with a strong international outreach, such as the Center for Genomic Regulation. And finally, at the Poblenou campus, UPF hosts disciplines related to communication and information technologies, creating and coordinating a multidisciplinary research on the frontier of knowledge, in close collaboration with companies and institutions from the 22 AT district. 3 campuses with one unique style. Discover your university.
Vine a la UPF.
Ven a la UPF.
Come to UPF.
Vine a la UPF.
Come to the UPF. Modern technologies permit today that the students come to the UPF without physically traveling to our campuses. And the elimination of distance is particularly enticing when we ask ourselves how to develop meaningful academic and research relations between institutions of countries as far away as India and Spain. In this sense, the topic for today's debate, the future of education, internet platforms, online communities, teachers' education is very timely and appropriate. New technologies open up opportunities for bridging the space gap, but also present many economic and cultural challenges, are subject to limits, and will have deep consequences in our way of teaching, learning, and researching. The 4 universities of the Alliance have already engaged in this venture. We all had more or less experience in traditional online teaching, but now we have started to produce massive online courses. We are joining platforms, Our managers have run to make calculations about hypothetical benefits, and even our academics have started to reflect on the impact of the processes of knowledge transmission. We have invited today several professors from Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona and from UPF, from the areas of technology, business, translation, and education to discuss in a relaxed manner about this phenomena. The roundtable will take the form of a TV program. It is being recorded in a TV studio with the participation as a program makers of an enthusiastic group of UPF students of audiovisual communication studies. It is broadcast in live streaming and therefore made universally accessible, very much in tune with the topic for today's debate. The session will be moderated by Manel Jimenez, who is senior lecturer at our communications department and who is doing a wonderful job as a rector's delegate for the development of massive online courses. So without further ado, I will give the floor to Manel. Many thanks again for your complicity and to all participants in the roundtable for the generous contribution to the debate. So the floor is yours.
Well, many thanks to you. Thank you very much for such inspiring discourses and such, I think, interesting videos also. Indeed, we are in the studio of the Faculty of Communication in Pompeu Fabra University in Barcelona. And as our Vice Rector explained, this is a format we thought it was interesting to deal especially with the idea of new technologies and education. So it's a timely format to speak about that. And usually when talking about MOOCs, we use this term massive, the first letter of the acronym. It's massive, referring usually to this broad range of students, this huge number of participants in the MOOCs. Today we have a massive roundtable, especially because of the number of participants, but also because this number has different profiles, and beside these different profiles, they have a complex background who is going to add and sum up some information, content, and probably useful knowledge about MOOCs, digital platforms, education, etc. We are always tight of time, especially in television. The time is a really important question, so we are going to move on quickly in an exposition of our point of view. I'm looking now at my colleagues from Barcelona, my colleagues from the University of Universitat Pompeu Fabra and Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona. And afterwards, we're going to open the debate or the reflection. I think probably it's a seminal and embryonic reflection that we could continue afterwards in the networks, around social networks, etc. And we will open, as I said, this debate with you. If you want, of course, you are very welcome to take the floor, participate, ask questions, and even suggest several ideas on that issue. I have here on my left Mr. Daniel Serra. He's a professor, but he's also the director of the Barcelona School of Management. This is a platform affiliated to the Pompeu Fabra University. He was also vice rector in a very timely subject also. He was vice rector in economy, institutional relations, informational resources, if I'm not wrong. So probably this duplicity of role will help to understand a bit more this new way of technologies, education, etc. I wanted to start asking you about postgraduate programs and technology, how technology can improve postgraduate programs to help to professionalize students in the future.
Yeah, well, welcome everyone. For us, technology right now is the most important thing, both at the Barcelona School of Management and also in the School of Continuing Studies, which I am also the director. Why? Because when we are in an international world, I mean, we have programs, master programs, diplomas that are for the local community, but we also have lots of programs that are both in company and international programs, especially with Latin America that we work with platforms online. For us, this is very important to develop new businesses, new programs, new master degrees with different universities. Like right now we're working with Peru, Colombia, Chile, Mexico, Argentina, and we work online with them. We teach online. Well, sometimes we have some presential courses, but we are basically online working with them. The same within companies. We work with basically banking and finance. We have a formation of professionals of more than 3,000 people in different areas, and without online courses, it would be impossible. We were talking with Xavier Serra a few minutes ago. So what is the difference between online and MOOCs? Well, the only difference, I think, is that massive and free. Massive and free. We are not in massive, and we are in paying, but charging. No? But we also are developing some MOOCs because we think they are complementary to the basic formation. I don't think the education will go into MOOCs as the main source of talent and learning, but they will be very complementary to the formation, to basic formation, education of our students. So I think this is the way to go. MOOCs are very important, but they won't be, I think, in my opinion, the basis for education.
Okay, thank you very much. I think you made a very good point. We will have the time to discuss it a bit later. Now we move from Daniel to Daniel and from director to director, because Daniel Franco, in this case, is the director of the engineering school in Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona. I wanted to ask you about the complexity of technology sometimes to give advice to the students and to involve sometimes teachers in this process of trying to make learn the students. This double profile sometimes condemned to a double knowledge also. The knowledge of the contents of the discipline and also the knowledge of the technologies, especially from the point of view of professors more than students. So what do you think about that?
I agree with you. That's the point. Good morning to all of you. But our experience in the engineering school is that we, from the past, we have also experience in some virtual education with virtual campus, online tools. But lately, we are developing MOOCs also. And for this, it's true that teachers, they need some special training to produce the MOOC, to run the MOOC after with the students. Later, my colleague can explain the strategy from the UAB, University Autónoma de Barcelona, for the MOOCs. But at the engineering school, we have a couple of them. And the teachers to prepare these MOOCs, it's quite a big effort, and the methodology to develop after the MOOC also they need some special trainings. I want to say that we have some light platform to produce some recording machine to produce not so sophisticated like this, but the teacher at their room or at a small room, they produce themselves nearly the MOOC, but they need some effort to develop, to prepare online exercises and automatic assessment and things like that. And it's true that our last experience this semester, we have some kind of blended teaching. We have run a MOOC about digital systems in the computer science program, and joined with the classroom students. With the classroom students were enrolled also in the MOOC, joined with all other students. I don't know the number, 4,000 students in the MOOC, plus 60 students real at the classroom. And we ran, and then the classes, when students went to the class, they previously have watched the videos, and then the class was more a debate about doubts or opinions about the topic, and then they have more free time to develop more exercises, more lab classes. But, and this was a very interesting experience, but it's true that methodology changes. And I think that the students are prepared for this change because they are used to online devices and they live digital, but for teachers they need to prepare the methodology, to manage the forum, or to encourage students to participate and all kind of things. So I think that it's some ideas to talk later about. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I remember you stressed some minutes ago this experience you had, and it's interesting because it combines presential and live experiences like the classical course with other online experiences, and maybe this model is a transition, a bridge between these two model of courses, or maybe we are advancing to a complicated and sorry, go ahead.
The online debate in the forum with 4,000 students were very, very rich for the classroom of the presential students. So this was a good experience.
That's true.
For all.
It usually nourishes the other classroom and the opposite. That's true.
Exactly.
Okay, so here we have Xavier Serra. Xavier Serra is a professor in the Department of Technologies here. He's the leader of a group in music, actually the technological group of music. He's working actually in a very interesting project. He could explain a bit more about that because he's working on musics from 5 different non-Western countries, among them India. So he knows very well your beautiful country. And I would like to ask him about his experience on educating and technology in India. He's also preparing a MOOC with us, also related to this digitalization of music, etc., this process of modeling technologies for music. So maybe you can explain and share with us the experience, please.
Yes, okay, well, nice to see you all. In fact, well, the experience started when I was invited to India, to IIT Bombay 4 years ago. And I was invited to give a series of tutorials to a field that in India is not that popular, let's say, which is audio signal processing, sort of signal processing applied to audio, music, and also speech. So I was invited there, and there was, of course, a lot of people. And after a short while, I realized that my type of teaching, the kind of content I was delivering, was not really appropriate for Indian students. So I am working in the area of music, so there is a cultural aspect very important. We always believe that these type of things are globalized and there is no borders. And at that point, I realized that that's not the case. That culture is a fundamental aspect of teaching, and that I had to adapt the kind of things I was talking about. How I was even very much engineering topics that had to be rethought. So through that, I started a large international project funded by the European Research Council to precisely focus on the issue of technologies for music, for cultural, taking as different countries as examples. And the main one is India, so I have a very strong collaboration with IIT Bombay and IIT Madras, but also with other universities in India, and I go there very often. And basically through that came the need to rethink teaching, and the MOOC, I think it's a possible candidate for that. But maybe I would like just to mention the idea that okay, it's the diversity of students, especially in my area, is huge, and I cannot just record a lecture and give it in front of even put it online for everyone. The backgrounds, the interests are completely different, and so the MOOCs, and I have been preparing this MOOC for 1 year, and it's the biggest effort I have ever done in my education experience to completely rethink most of the paradigms I have been using. And one of them is to be as personal as possible, which is, I think, is the key. We always talk about the massive, and for me, the key is precisely with these technologies to offer very personalized education in terms of targeting specific backgrounds and specific interests. That's a huge challenge, not solved, but we're working on this, and I am fascinated by how to experiment with that, and especially thinking with the Indian kind of type of people. Of course, I work with many Indian students, great students with very different backgrounds, very different from us, and the effort of really targeting those needs and those cultural diversity is, for me, the MOOC offers a fascinating platform to work on that.
This is a very enriching point of view, I think, not just for his experience in India, but also because your course, your MOOC is really specific, and you mentioned, beside this massive thing that usually affects to the MOOCs, there are people to try to motivate, to try to encourage, to try to nourish with content. So I think it's interesting to try to balance all these two forces between the massive and the possibility to educate a huge number of people, and at the same time trying to be really specific and try to give the tools to specific people to specialize them. We will discuss also a bit later, and it's time now for another expert on MOOCs. He's Carlos Escolari. He's professor from the Department of Communications, a very prominent person and well-known professional on media and transmedia. And as I said, he's working now on a MOOC. Actually, he's offering at this moment this MOOC. He's just in process of answering mails, giving some assessment, etc. And it's a MOOC, a very popular MOOC at this point, about television, American television. So, Carlos, what is your experience on that MOOC?
Thank you. We're in the middle of the tempest right now, because we started the MOOC 3 weeks ago, and it's a completely new experience for practically for all the team. First, a reflection, because my research is about media evolution, media ecology, and I think that in education is happening the same that already happened in the media. We used to have the big institutions, the big broadcasting companies, television, radio, and in the last 15 years, 20, we have an emergence of new media experiences. Our media diet has changed. We have blogs, we have Twitter, we have the Wikipedia, even video games, applications. So I think the same is happening in education, in the sense that we used to have the big media, the big broadcasting, primary school, high school, and university. And in the last year, we have seen this emergence of new formats, new ways of teaching and learning, and not only MOOCs. I'm thinking, for example, other models like the Khan Academy or peer-to-peer university, 2.0 models of education. So that's more or less, I think, the context of the MOOC and why I wanted to produce something like this. Our MOOC is about the third golden age of television. We talk about American television, and just to be clear, from Sopranos to True Detective. And well, we have more than 4,000 students. The MOOC is in Spanish, so we have a lot of people from Latin America. We do not have this kind of maybe cultural problems. I come from Argentina, so more or less I understood the coding and the coding processes of the people in Latin America. But it's a huge experience. We have received a grant from the Catalonian autonomous community, so we had the money to organize a beautiful production team, audiovisual production team, with people from Pompeu, Fabra, and external professionals. And we are producing high-quality videos, and people really is enjoying that. They like a lot that. It's not a traditional webcam, the professor talking to the webcam. We are producing high-level audiovisual contents. And another characteristic is this MOOC is 8 weeks long, so we have practically 20 professor experts in the new TV series talking. So it's a polyphonic MOOC. We have a lot of people talking out there, so the dynamics of the MOOC is really important. And as I told you before, this is an ongoing process. We started 3 weeks ago. So the conversations in the forum are really interesting. We have a lot of good questions and good debate. And I think, well, in in 5 or 6 weeks we'll be able to produce a balance of the whole situation. But I think it's a good thing. One of the big problem is the pre-production, because we have been working 6 months, you have been working 1 year, and the most of the work is before, is the production of the contents. Then when you start the MOOC, it's beautiful because you participate in the different conversations, but you need a lot of pre-production. Thanks.
I think thank you. I think one of the most fascinating things about your MOOC is you are working with a quite specific subject, and a subject that can be in some way quite complex, because you are dealing with a television series from a point of view of semiotics, a point of view of anthropology, philosophy, narrative, etc. But at the same time, it's a very, very popular course. So this combination of both makes it really, really interesting. And at the same time, one of the interesting things about the MOOC is you work with sponsors, which is something that is not really a model for MOOCs. So maybe you can talk a bit more about that.
Support of a couple of publishers, because they have book collections about TV series and new narratives. So we have a couple of publishers, and we also have Channel Plus. They gave us a couple of gadgets, so for the people who will participate more in the MOOC, or they will receive these prizes, these gadgets. So I think that's another alternative also to look for partners. It depends on the subject of the MOOC, but that's a good alternative also.
Yeah, especially because we have always this debate about MOOCs for anything, or zero-cost MOOCs, low-cost MOOCs. So we need to be really creative on working on that, and try to find alternative to produce MOOCs. So we move on with a dear colleague. I say a dear colleague because I think he understands myself very well. He's doing sort of homologues activities. He's planifying informational systems and producing MOOCs by himself, coordinating groups to produce MOOCs. He comes from UAB, and you can speak more about this sort of workflow and the coordination of teams and professors you have dealt with all along of this time of production.
Okay, thank you, and welcome everyone here. Well, in fact, the first question, or before answering the question itself, I would like to remark there is some previous point in the flow, but which is really, really important, and it's knowing what the university expects from MOOCs. That's the first question which should be addressed. Not only the universities, but any higher education institution which wants to play a role in the MOOC environment should know what is expected in the MOOC, what can it do for me, or what do I want it for? That could be the question, because sometimes the people come to us and say, okay, you are let's say, technologist, what can you do for me? The question is not that, it's what do you want, what do you need, what do you expect? And I remember when I was talking to our provost, to our teaching and quality and employability provost, and also our Information Society Commissioner, and after having big thoughts on this, they say, okay, we think we have two main axes, and that would be how to show that we are a quality university, and in that way we would like to show we would like to have some kind of internationalization, and also increase the quality in our teaching, in our on-campus teaching. And that was a key point for them, and that's where the flow begins. So the first thing would be knowing what do you want the MOOC for. So we have two axes. Other institutions maybe have different ideas. You can have, okay, I would like additional financing from them. I would expect increasing my number of students. What do you want? That said, we thought that a good platform to achieve these two goals was entering Coursera. It was, well, I assume it's a platform you maybe all have heard. And that platform has helped us in getting to more than 100 countries and having courses with as much as 37,000 students in a single course. We have Indian students also, but if we have more than 100 countries, so we have people from, you can imagine, all around the world. That said, the flow, how is it? I think that there is a key component, and that's something we say, the key component is the teacher. And that's something that many times it's missed. You think, okay, this is a technological aspect. Where can technology play a role here? Yes, technology can help, but you need a teacher. You need people who are experienced, who are good teachers in your campuses, and that's the key point, having people who know what they are explaining, who like what they are explaining, and if you do so, you can achieve 37,000 students or 20,000 or 15,000, it's the same, but the result is that they like what you offer them, because that's a very important point. You are offering something to 20,000 to, well, the number, it's when you are talking about thousands, the number it's almost the same, okay? But you have to have something clear. When you offer something to 1,000 people, it's sure they will find the minimum, any detail you have missed, they will find it. So it's good and it's bad. Maybe it's bad because you say, okay, I made a mistake there, but it's a very, very good way to improve your on-campus teaching. Yeah, it's a quality control. Daniel told you about the experience in the engineering school. We have courses from engineering to humanities, but all of them share the same aspect. You need a good teacher. You need also to have a very, very good quality control. That's also one part of the flow, which for us it's critical, and it's make sure that many people review the course before going live. That's another critical aspect before going live. In addition, as we like to have international programs and we are quite focused to internationalization, we also decided, we began by offering only courses in Spanish, and we now are offering courses in both Spanish and English. In fact, the experience from Daniel, well, from the School of Engineering, was offered simultaneously with different teachers in Spanish and in English. Our students could follow the course either in Spanish or English. So as you see, it's a matter of what you expect, and what they wanted is achieving quality, and that's what they wanted with this MOOC. What we do in this flow is trying to ensure the goals are achieved and the quality of the course is as expected. But I want to remark that the central point should not be the technology, although it's what I care for, okay? But it's the teacher, okay? It's ensuring that you have a group of teachers who are engaged in the project, who like them, who like the course, and which can offer a quality product. That's, I think, the key point.
Thank you. Lots of difficult decisions to take, I think, especially before starting. And we have to say that UAB chose a model that we contrasted afterwards, and finally we decided to do another model. And I think both of them, well, I'm speaking from the point of view of UPF, of course, but both of them are working very good, I think. In UAB, the professor is a bit more independent, I think, after checking and control and some assistance. And in UPF, we are working more in a collaborative process all the long of the recording, producing, and post-production activities. So these are two possible models working very good, all of them, and it's something I think we need to explore and be quite sensitive and flexible, and let the professors choose in the end, finally. Okay, so last but not least, Daniel on the table. We have a lot of Daniels here. It's rare. It's not a very frequent name, but it happens. So Daniel Casany is a professor in translation and interpretation. Actually, his domain is in analysis of discourse, writing, comprehension of lectures and reading. And he has some experiences also in online communications, but especially on this transition between the old paradigms and the new paradigms in courses, pedagogy, etc. So could you bring us some ideas about this experience, please?
Thank you, Manel. Good morning. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Okay, I want to be. I'm just a teacher, yeah, and I want to be a good teacher in the sense that my colleague explains, yeah, an updated teacher. Yeah, sometimes I think I would hate me if I teach my students obsolete things. Yeah, I want to be updated. Yeah, I want to prepare them, to train them for the today's and tomorrow's skills and knowledge. Yes, this is my point of view. Yeah? I have no responsibilities with technology policies or things like that. Yeah, and from this point of view, I selected just two basic ideas. Yeah, the first one is that we need to train our students to use technology for academic purposes. Yeah. We were told that our students are digital natives or maybe digital residents, depending on the kind of metaphors we use. Yeah, but this is a mistake. Okay, maybe our students have a profile in Facebook, a personal profile in Facebook, or they have an account in Pinterest or in all the networks, yeah, social networks, but they really use technologies only for private purposes, yeah. And they do, for example, very basic searches. They use the search engine in a very basic way. Yeah? They are not critic. They have a lot of difficulties to assess the documents they get from the web, from the net, yeah. So we need to prepare them for a much more complicated world where you need to distinguish between the truth and the lies, yeah, because there are a lot of the lies, a lot of rubbish on the net, yeah. So this is a key point, yeah, from my point of view. And the second one is related to the platforms, yeah. I think all the universities choose a platform, yeah. We here in the UPF are Moodle people, yeah, we have Moodle, the name for it is Aula Global, yeah, and we teachers and students have to manage all our teaching and learning in this context, yeah. But this is not a misconception, I think, because from my point of view, it's like to be, if we imagine the internet like an ocean, yeah, like a sea, a big sea, to be in the platform is like to be in a teeny aquarium inside the ocean, yeah. You are there, but you can go anywhere, yeah. You can navigate, you can swim, you can contact with the other, with all the resources, yeah. For many years, we have listened that school or university have to be related with the real life, with the street, with the things that happen on the real life. Yeah. So on the net, that's also true. Yeah. And we need to be in Facebook, in Pinterest, in Digo, in Delicious, in Wikispaces, in Sites, in all the places. Yeah. It's the best way to prepare or to train our students for the future, I think.
Okay, thank you. It's true. We had like a subtitle for this debate or this roundtable, and this subtitle referred to the formation, the education for teachers. And this is the reason why I asked Daniel Franco about that. But maybe we need to educate students to use in an appropriate way all this media and all these new technologies to have a good use and a good practice of it. Okay, so thank you very much. It's time to open a bit the roundtable to debate. You have some questions. I would like just to make a small presentation, just your name and where do you come from. I did a lot of efforts to remember all your names, but it's really difficult for us. So please go ahead with this presentation.
I am director of IIT Delhi. But here I am speaking more as a co-chairman of a national project on technology enhanced learning. So the MOOCs activity in India started almost about 12 years back. And one of the things I will take off from the thing which you made, a point which you made, what is this MOOCs for? What are we creating it for? And that time it was very clear to India that it is not made for internationalization. It was made for a local need. And the need was that there were a large number of institutions in India, about 5,000 engineering institutions, 1 million students registering in the engineering programs, and there were no quality teachers to teach the students. So the mandate was very clear. Can we create these MOOCs, quality content, which can be used by the students or the teachers in these colleges, which are 5,000 colleges? And IITs being the premier institutions in the country, and they're having good teachers of international standards, can they really create the content which can be used by these people? That's how we started about 12 years back. And it started in the first phase. They identified only 5 disciplines of engineering, which was most popular: electrical, mechanical, civil, computer science, and telecommunication. And then we created in about 3 years' time all courses which are used by these 3 engineering disciplines, video format as well as the web format, in the lecture-wise, the way they are taught in the IITs. So first phase, we created 120 web courses and 120 video courses, which became finally available free of cost to people. Now these courses had 2 aspects which were emphasized earlier. One was that for the student it should be used. Second thing, we identified the best teachers in these areas. So for each subject from each IIT, we selected the best possible professor in that and asked him to create their content. So that was the first phase, which was over by about 2006, 2007. By then it became clear that only video content and web courses is not adequate. We require something more. We require more interaction. So in the second phase of this program, this is called National Program on Technology Enhanced Learning, NPTEL, we created an approach of 4 quadrants. What that means is that there is one quadrant which is video lectures. Second quadrant gives you a transcript of this lecture. And I fully agree here, I think our colleague here, that culture plays a very great role here. So, the teacher should really communicate which culturally sort of connects. So the transcript which was available to students, then there were assignments which are in 3rd quadrant, which students can solve. And in the 4th quadrant, you are having a self-evaluation quiz. So after at the end of the lecture, you can go through a quiz and find out. Now, we have not up till now approached for the certification. That we are not handled. So this is the content which is available. And once this becomes successful, and now we are having about 600 courses in this 4 quadrant system, covering all engineering disciplines at postgraduate and undergraduate level. That content is available. Then people realize that in these colleges, there is even an acute shortage of laboratories. People do not have even, to have the enough equipments and things to have experience. So then the government of India, again following this, they launched a program what is called virtual labs, under which they created 120 virtual laboratories. Each laboratory has about 10 experiments, primarily from electrical, electronics, telecommunication, chemical engineering, some biological engineering also. And then they created some experiment which was simulation based, some experiments which were remotely controlled instrumentation based. So these various models were tried. And these laboratories now are used by many of the engineering institutions in the country, under the supervision of the coordinators within IIT. So it has really created a transformation in the engineering education in the country. And today, now we are working on creating a mechanism to give a certification. Because up till now, certification was not our mandate. So we have approached to one of our computer agencies, the Federation of Computer Thing and Chamber of Commerce, and we said, would you give certificate if you make this course available and create a evaluation process for them, so that the certificate can be used for employability in the industry and so on. So that's where at the moment we are. So fully following your thing, the first stage is to identifying the good teachers and create the content, clearly define what this MOOCs is for. That's the process we have gone through. Now the next stage, how to take it to the international level and really see, how internationalization is going to really make help, and take it to the next level for certification and for interaction. But that's where we stand, and this content is available free of cost at the YouTube. Anybody can go and see under this banner, this content which is available. So I think what activities you are proposing, similar activities started in India 10 years back, and we are at a fairly advanced stage, though our needs are very locally focused, and our number is very large, because we train about 1 million engineers a year. So that's what it is. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your broad point of view and outlook to that. Mr. Powell Agarwal. Yeah, please.
Good morning, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm Pawan Agarwal, advisor higher education with the national government, and I would supplement what Professor Shagaonkar just mentioned. Just to put it in context, the scale of challenges that India's higher education faces. We have more than half the population of Spain in India's higher education system, 28.5 million students in the system, and we have more to go. In fact, our enrollment ratios are still low comparatively. There are still areas where people do not have access to higher education. There are communities which are underrepresented in higher education, and quality is a huge issue because, like most countries, we have also not been able to attract talent into higher education sector. So I think technology to us can potentially address all these three challenges at once. And we made an early beginning with engineering education some 12 to 14 years ago. And through this roundtable, got to know that there is a very deep thinking about MOOCs and its uses in the Spanish higher education. I think this is extremely heartening to see that this kind of thinking is going on. And we are also having a similar conversation on MOOCs and the early generation of content that we had created through NPTEL and other programs, and how that can be adapted to the new learning environment that we have. So we are all, I think, in the same boat, but our challenge is to address the quality challenge at a scale which I think no country faces today.
Okay, thank you very much. Ajay.
My name is Ajay, and I'm representing a business school, arguably the best in India at least. So on the business education side, I think our initiatives in through technology increasing the education have been very, very limited. But I guess we live in the same world. So when we tried the efforts, we are seized with all the problems which have been sort of pointed out. Starting with how do you make sure that the students are really learning out of whatever you put out in the place? So big challenge. Whether the segment which you are interested in targeting, is that the segment which is coming on, or people who are already highly motivated, they would in any case be learning on their own. They are the ones who are coming. How do you support the cost? How do you recover the cost of free versus paid? One thing is that if it's free, then how do you sustain the interest? And that takes it back to the quality of teaching using the technology platform. So most of the faculty members are used to conventional chalk and board teaching. In this platform, you have to be much more interactive. You have to follow and you have to cover the ground, come back. The issue of objective, whether you want to arouse the interest of the student, get them on board, or whether you really want to cater to those students who are already moving towards certification. So all the challenges which I think you have talked about are the issues which we are also sort of grappling with. So the initiatives which I know of have been somewhat one-sided so far, in the sense that you assume that there is interest, you assume that there is a demand, you assume that there is a quality which can be enriched by sort of putting the content out there. But the bigger issues which I think the worldwide we are seized of in using the technology, I think we talked about, we believe that the students are tech savvy. That means whatever you put on the technology platform will be automatically picked up. The assumption that it's just that whatever you put out, and if it's there, the students would be interested in following it through and not give up halfway, or will do it only very cursorily. Those are the assumptions. Assumption that the teachers, if they are effective in the classroom in a conventional sense, they are going to be effective using the technology platform. I think all those assumptions, at least in the last 4 or 5 years, I think have been sort of opened up, and I guess we are also re-examining those challenges. So I think that's where NPTEL is also sort of.
Okay,
Thank you.
A very complimentary point of view also. Do you want to intervene? Do you want to, Ayesha?
Hi, Manil. I'm Aisha, and good to be here today. See, I look after this education newspaper for Hindustan Times, and I am very interested in the MOOCs, and what we want to do is we want to provide this information to our readers. We have a young target group, and my challenge is that every time I try to, we want to start a column on MOOCs, and we want to tell students what's available online. If he's a student of history, I want to kind of focus on a couple of programs which are really, interesting for them and they can learn. For me, a reader is not, about which university or college he comes from. It's about the information that he should have access to. And I find a jumble of information out there. I can't specifically locate something that I can, get back to my readers with and say, okay, check this out, this is good for you. If you're interested in design, this is what you need to learn, So that is a big challenge for me, and I'm hoping that, somebody provide us that kind of information so that we can, in print, tell a kid who's reading the paper and saying, okay, check out these programs, learn something from it. So that's something that I'm hoping, to access from people that I met today. So that's wonderful. The music thing that Xavier was talking about, we'd love to write about it, and we'd love to know, how our kids can access info on classical music, which we feel that students need to know about. So that's the kind of thing we would want people to, universities, colleges. We ourselves reach out to them, but some of the information should come to Indian newspapers so that we can write about it, and we have lakhs of readers. They can be told about it.
And anyway, it's good to know there is some filter of all this storm of huge information.
It's so difficult for me to know, even engineering courses, what's available. If there's a person who is not intelligent enough to get through those very tough engineering college examinations, there's no reason why he cannot check out what courses are available. And self-learning is the biggest thing. And I feel that someday there might be no need for bricks and mortar institutions. I mean, he can just open the computer and, learn. And it's a grand thing. It's a massive opportunity out there for young students. So I think that's something we need to look at.
It is, you're right. Okay, more comments?
Can I have one more thing? Actually?
Yes, of course. It's an open turn, actually.
Open sourceware content. But one more thing which Government of India has done, and that is availability of connectivity to the remotest possible place. For example, our premier institutions in India and universities, now they are connected with 1 gigabits per second network. And this is a dedicated network meant for only education, made free of cost available to all the university people. So it is not only the content transmission which is taking place on this, but even for research interaction, accessing even high computing facilities which are at different places. So this is another initiative which is there. Second thing, they have created the low-cost devices which people can own for access devices. So from those devices, and they are mobile-based devices basically. So you can access the content wherever you are, even the remotest place where you may not have a good connectivity. Through the wireless connection, you can get an access to the content and so on. So in addition to the content creation, actually there is a huge emphasis which the government is given to provide a penetration and good connectivity even to the remotest location in the country. That's what I would like to add. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Dr. Rajiv. I'm the Dean of the Faculty of Health and Biomedical Sciences. At the outset, first of all, I must congratulate the makers of the film, because as a student, it raised a huge amount of aspirational value for me. I would love to be a part of this university. It's something beautiful, and
you can if you want.
Unless I'm age debarred. Well, I've got a little different take as a medico, and as a health science student. Whereas we do understand that the millennial kids born in the early 90s and at the turn of the 2000s are technology driven, the applicability of this technology driven education to health sciences or to medical education or to research is limited. My simple question to you all is, would you like to be treated by a doctor who is learning something visually, virtually, and then treating? Would you like your wife or your daughter to be delivered by someone who is seeing how a delivery is being conducted and then do the steps accordingly? I shudder to think that I would not like have one of my relatives being delivered that way. Having said that, technology does find a place in service delivery. So you talked about the mobile apps. Yes, that could be an area of interaction where the technology could play a part. But education, and more so, as someone rightly said, is the fact that our teachers, the best, whom we have learnt our surgery and medicine from, are not tech savvy as what we are or what our future generation is. So how do I imbibe that sort of a master training or teach the trainers who can then impart the training to me? So that's a big challenge. So if I've learned my best of surgery from oldies who have been taught hands-on and who have taught me surgery holding my hands, I would not like to forsake it for technology. This is one aspect of it. But when we talk about technology applications, yes, in healthcare communication, since we've got a lot of communication experts, and we talk of public advocacy for anti-smoking, cancer education, diabetes education, hypertension education, yes, healthcare communication does play a major part for public advocacy. We talk about technology being imparted for health sciences on learning. Yes, to a certain extent, yes, it can be. But how do you imbibe that research? Can someone be taught research using technology? Sorry.
Yeah, I have a different take on
it.
Go ahead.
I would like to make two remarks about two very interesting points. And one is about numbers. You said in India you have, well, in fact you show a huge number of university students, but in fact it's worldwide. We'll have, and it's studied that by year 2040 we will have not enough, let's say, classical university systems to support all the population worldwide, which will be entering the university system. So some kind of shifting should be done in higher education to support that. I think MOOCs can play a role there. The question is how. To the second question, it's or the second point I'd like to focus is, would I like to be treated by, let's say, by a doctor who has been trained in a MOOC way? Well, I would say yes. Yes, if we do just as we are doing, or as our idea in the university, and if I have to give you a lecture, please, I can give you the best of my days. I will have a content, review it, and my explanation will be there. You can look at it whenever you like. You can have a look, you can review, repeat, do whatever. Then come to me, and I will show here in our campus, in the class, I will show you the details about that which cannot be explained, like to say, in a huge class, maybe with smaller groups, and that's a point where MOOCs can help. The classical lessons can be provided, like, let's say, in video format, and then you can come to class and learn something that it's really, really specific, and where I can really, where the teacher can show all the value that he or she can provide. In fact, some teachers say, okay, but if I videotape myself, what will I do later? We say you will provide real value. So if you have to, for instance, in the School of Engineering, they have done also another one about introduction to calculus, because they thought that the students arrive with different levels and they want to do some kind of propedeutic studies. Well, we can provide you with that. And then come to class. I can say, where are your mistakes? You have made a mistake here. Please take care about this. From statistics, I know this problem has been the problem which has been less understood. I will show you why. And that's where I think MOOC is more than numbers. MOOC can be a new way of teaching.
Yeah, I would agree. In fact, MOOC can be very effective in communicating developing basic perspective, basic concepts, anything which is simple and formulaic, which is not something which, and that you can drill n number of times, so you don't waste the class time in actually discussing those things. Mm-hmm. And that brings in complementarity, a blended way of sort of handling it. Mm-hmm. So, but then the evolution has to take place wherein the faculty members are comfortable with the idea that they are not going to deliver the entire package. It's only the value addition, which is what is the focal point.
Vidya.
Yeah, so just to take on from what you said, you're talking about blended learning, right? You're using open online courses along with face-to-face. But then someone else also spoke about the numbers that you all are catering to, which means there is another system where MOOCs is used for online education, right? So have you looked at the employability part of it? I mean, people who go solely through online education, how has their employability been versus, full-time students? Because in India, even the mindset of students is that, they should go in for full-time courses. Then in the university, if you have blended education, fine. But those lakhs and lakhs of students do go in for online education, but those are the ones that are not the fresh pass-out students. They're the ones who are working, who want to add value, to the knowledge that they already have, and so on and so forth. So how have you all looked at employability?
In fact, it's a way we are analyzing now, and I'll tell you why. The main focus we have previously was increasing quality, and in fact, if I say 37,000 in one subject, we have not 37,000 students in our campus for that particular topic. So there is people worldwide who just learn about this topic. Okay, what we are focusing now is to increase the quality, and now thinking about a new way, which would be, okay, you have gained these basic skills. We are thinking not about a single MOOC, but what we call itineraries or specializations, which would be the way here. You have learned a degree, you have a degree in some kind of area, you have these studies, but you want to get this kind of job. How can I give you some kind of learning to get from a classic degree, let's say, to a specific labor market position? That's something we have not addressed yet, because in fact our courses have been more basic degree courses, an introduction, for instance, to digital system, which can be a bit more sophisticated. But now, in fact, now we are planning, for instance, to offer a course which covers not only this part, but talking to professional companies and say, okay, we will teach these people to use FPGA, to use digital systems, and then to program specific devices, and then to make a project you think that can be interested, and then you will have people which be prepared to enter a specific labor market. That's a way which we are focusing now. We have not done so far, but we will try to go from basic skills to particularly and link it to labor market companies.
But do you give certification at the end of the online course?
Yeah, we give a certificate upon completion. You get a certificate that says you have completed the course. But I would not say, if you say, do you think this certificate can provide you entrance to the labor market? I can tell you from our human resources in the same university, there's people also who deal with human resources, and they say there's every time more and more people coming with certificates from these kind of platforms, anyone, Coursera, EDX, any platform. It's up to the employer, let's say, to assume the value of this certificate. I think it's like the thing that was said before in the thing of digital natives. Maybe for us, we want the classic, let's say the classic degree, but there's a reality, and the reality is that every time more and more people are entering this system and are getting skills through this kind of courses. So I assume that the companies have to use this kind of certificates. Yes.
If I may speculate, I guess I think pure certification which is based on MOOC will never be acceptable in the job market or labor market. It would have at least three elements. One is large part might be coming from the MOOC side, some internship which is practical experience, and some classical examination and hands-on assessment, which might require as a prereq all the MOOCs, so that you don't really waste your time on what can be covered through MOOCs. So all the three elements, once they are in place, then only I guess it will go to the kind of thing which
it has different, let's say, different validation.
Yes.
You can make your MOOC, but the student in the engineering course, the MOOC is only a stage in the certification process.
Right.
So they have to follow classical, let's say, labs, additional labs. They have to follow an additional examination which verifies, like a verified title.
Yeah, I would say we should actually have a systematic study of which are the courses which can be done under MOOCs and which cannot be done under MOOCs. Yes. I think we require that study.
We are doing it currently.
Okay, so we are doing it very nice.
Our business education.
Where every course may not fit for MOOCs.
Yeah, every course will not fit.
Okay, so,
go ahead. Yeah.
So in our university, what we've tried is, one is of course, the routine programs which are like face-to-face, coming to a university and sitting in a classroom, which is supported by blended learning, which is online courses. But then there are a set of separate courses which are offered only online, so a student will do a 1-year whole program online or a 2 years. So does your university, or both the UAB and do you offer a whole program which may lead to an evaluation and certification?
No. Here in Catalonia we have the Open University, which is an pure online university that offers a degree, paying university, not a MOOC type. Well, it's subsidized by the Catalan government. That offers degrees full-time, part-time degrees because they are online, and it's quite successful too. It's especially addressed for people that are already working, not for young people, but and they are the ones that have the big offer of regular courses, mathematics, management, or whatever.
Yeah, but it's true that in that case the examination is classroom.
It's classroom.
It's essential.
Class, yes.
At the end, virtual labs, exercises, all is online, but the real.
But at the final, you have to go to an exam in a classroom, and
And Xavier, you were talking about the cultural aspects of music, and just to share with you that we are doing a transnational study on use of music as a therapy, and we've come up with very good results.
Right.
So that's some area which may probably excite you. Music is beyond culture.
Yes. I will check that. Thank you.
There's one more thing. Are you making an effort to make big organizations or companies in your area, the HR departments, more aware of what MOOCs are? Is there a need to inform people about it, employers who are hiring people, to recognize that there's something like MOOCs, which, if people come to them with certain qualifications, that they should be, that it should look good on somebody's resume, need to educate employers a little bit more about MOOCs?
I think that we are at the beginning of the track. We are not still developing these ideas. I am right? Yes. So I think that
we have it, but not with MOOCs. We have
exactly. No, I'm talking about MOOCs. Yeah, we are at the beginning of the path. I think that in the future we will develop these more ideas. But as we are talking here, the assessment or something blended, or some technical or practical lab in-house, and then at the end to offer an accreditation or a program certification. And then to offer to companies this kind of teaching.
It's true that there are some countries more aware to all this process of certification and so on, as the United States, for instance. Yeah, and we are advancing little by little to that. Anustup, we have just 3 minutes more or less. Sorry.
So I happen to run a massively offline experiment in the other aspect of school education, which is school and elementary education. I represent a company called Exceed, which is working with about 1,200 elementary schools and about 50,000 teachers who teach in that schools, and about 500,000 students who study between K through 8. And I just wanted to talk about just 3 brief points. One is what we have learned about learning itself. It's been a huge, we assumed when we started this experiment about 12 years ago that we knew what learning was. Of course, it was clear what learning wasn't, and which is what is being taught in most Indian schools, which is a lot of transfer of information from textbooks. And I think this has some bearing on how to construct a MOOC or an online experience. We found out that whether you're learning photosynthesis or calculus or music or whatever else, I think 5 ingredients are very critical, and we've seen this repeating itself. One is the learner clear about the aim of what they're learning? Second, is there some hands-on activity or an action, whether simulated or like Rajiv was saying, are you really able to deliver the baby? Right? I mean, that's a clear action, right? Second, a third is, are you able to analyze, ask questions, and unravel the concept? Fourth, are you able to apply it to a real life situation? And fifth, can you have useful assessment? And whenever we've kind of titrated various forms, you've seen these 5 steps repeat themselves. And I see that whether you're constructing massively online courses or any other thing, I think this a good idea of what learning is usually helps success. There are 2 other things we have learned, and I think will inform. The one big thing we have learned is that teacher education can be a big disruptive change in the short run, and a big victory for online learning. We have 40 to 50,000 teachers, many of whom teach in an archaic way. And what has changed this practice is what we've created, and you can go on our YouTube channel, something called model teaching videos. These are videos of, these are un-Khan Academy. So Khan Academy is Mr. Khan telling you how to do it. These model teaching videos is a teacher like Professor Shevgaonkar going to a class 5 classroom, teaching fractions using kids, and you can see the kids and you can see professor, right? And you can see the kids learning experiments. And we've seen that when kids see this, they immediately get this. This is not the teacher only telling them, they see other kids learning. The second, it destroys the teacher's viewpoint that this kind of learning is not possible. Many teachers believe and tell us, what you're telling is, something in America. This doesn't happen here. But when they see these videos being done in the classroom, I think that's something they believe, and we've seen some very good early results. The second area where I'm working on right now is assessment. I think online learning can really offer a window to the learner's mind which was not available earlier. When you're a teacher in a classroom, things are happening so fast. When you're in a MOOC or in an online situation, you can generate lots of data about learners. So now I have 150,000 students taking an assessment which is kind of delivered offline, but I have data. But I have some good ideas where in this population there are learning gaps. I think those are the 2 areas where I see a kind of a very big jump. And I'd like to believe that the school of the future will be, and which is my colleague Ashish, who is supposed to be on this trip, usually says, there'll be 2 kinds of schools. One, you go in the daytime where you earn your degree, tell your parents that you're not doing something wrong, and then there will be the school on the cloud where you learn some of the real stuff which you could not learn in your kind of offline experience. And my guess is perhaps the poorest kids are the ones who will probably benefit from this most in the long run.
Thank you. We were so comfortable talking about that we didn't realize we consumed all the time. Unfortunately, you have to leave because you have a very busy agenda, I think, a very busy schedule. Thank you very much to all. I think you contributed to give very huge, very high level to this debate, to this roundtable, especially in a context which sometimes is considered banal as the television. So probably you proved it can be another thing. Television can be intelligent and it's useful for other kind of reflections. Thank you to our guests for bringing the air of your beautiful country here and also your reflections. Thank you also to the foundation for its help, the coordination, and for the allowance to organize this debate and roundtable. And we hope to see you again here. You have a home in UAB and UPF, so we hope to see you again. Namaste, goodbye, and see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.